Hello everybody and welcome to another bachatarockstar Hearthstone video card review number 4, I believe, for the Knights of the Frozen Throne expansion. So card reveals have been coming at a rapid pace. I went to sleep and I woke up and there were 8 new cards. Granted, I sleep during the day, so most of the card reveals happen during that time. But let's take a look, man. We got this bad boy right here, a Bear Shark, 3-mana 4/3 Hunter card. It's a beast and can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. Well, it's not like we were trying to buff Hunter cards anyway, so yeah, but it's a shark and it's a bear and it's a daddy. Here's my problem. It's a 3-mana Hunter card, and there's already a ridiculous amount of very good 3-mana Hunter cards. Is this going to see the cut? I mean, probably not. But it's a good card. Like, it's aggressively statted. You have to trade a minion into it in order to kill it. Houndmaster this, and then it's a 6/5 with taunt that can't be targeted. I mean, that's really good. Like, it's a great Houndmaster target. And like I said, it will trade up with a lot of stuff. And it does deal 4 damage. And like, I mean, it's a pretty good card. And I think in any other class, this would probably see a pretty good amount of play. I just wish it was better than this. I don't know. Bear Shark seems like such a cool card and such a cool concept. And to make it this? It's underwhelming. I'd like more from this card. I'm going to give it a 4, maybe even a 3.5. I just don't think it's going to see a lot of play. I mean, as cool as it is, and as good as the stat and the effect is, just, it's a Hunter card, and you're never going to find a slot for it. Hadronox, 9-mana, 3/7 beast, legendary for Druid, Death Rattle, summon your taunt minions that died this game. Interesting. Taunt minions, not beasts. Taunt minions. Taunt Druid a thing? I don't know. I always thought Taunt Druid should have been a thing from the very beginning instead of pushing Taunt Warrior, which never made sense to me. Because Warriors attack and they're aggressive, whereas trees and druids hunker down and block and protect with giant treants that have taunt. Thematically, that always made sense to me, not Taunt Warrior. So this, thematically, makes sense to me. But is this actually a good card? No. It is a 9-mana 3/7 that does literally nothing on the turn it's played. Now, obviously when it dies, it's awesome because you fill your whole fucking board with taunt minions. And hopefully up until this point, you've been playing taunt minions. But it's got 7 health! That's a lot. This thing is actually kind of hard to kill. Your opponent can just basically ignore it or set up its own taunt to just kind of force it to bash into it twice. And then at that point, you're probably dead. I mean, the effect is great. You know, summoning all your taunt minions that died this game. I mean, it's essentially the N'Zoth effect, but for taunt minions instead of for death rattles. And so having taunt minions die in a deck like this is, I mean, that's really neat. And maybe you can pull this out somehow. Maybe this makes Jungle Giants a little more viable. Because you can play this card with a bunch of big taunt minions. And then if this costs 0 mana, you just dump it on the board. Really, really good if it gets pulled by Dirty Rat. I just, see what I mean? Look at how hard it is for me to come up with a scenario to make this card actually viable. If this was a Battle Cry and this was 10 mana, just like N'Zoth, fine. Perfect. Good. If this was a 4/5, 4/6, 5/5, should be a 5/5, right? Then I can just die easier. That would be fine. But it's just, it's got too much health. It doesn't impact the board on the turn it comes out. And yes, the effect is fucking monstrous, but you have to not die in order for this effect to be good. And honestly, if you need this effect to happen, you're probably getting smashed in the face, and playing a 9-mana 3/7 is probably going to fuck you. That's it. You know, I mean, I just don't see a world where this card is like legitimately good and can be utilized on a consistent basis. So, Hadronox, doggone it, you're just so close. Almost playable. Almost. I'm going to give you a 4. Man, wasted potential. 7 mana, 6/7, the Abominable Bowman. Death Rattle, summon a random friendly beast that died this game. Now that's a good card. That's neat. 7 mana slot's not that good for Hunter, right? You've got the Glad's Longbow, you've got the Swamp King Dread, and then you got 2 of these motherfuckers. Pretty good. Fingers crossed, you play Highmane, it dies. You play this dies, you get another Highmane. Very value-oriented card. This card also works great with the new Hunter Hero, right? So with the Hunter Hero, like, you can make some really crazy fucked up beasts, like really powerful fucked up beasts, and then this dude will bring one of them back. Thumbs up. Like, the value of this card is great. Now, the real question is, can we make value Hunter, control Hunter, continuously making bigger beast Hunter viable? Something that takes it in the late game where you're just playing so many big giant threats, one after the other, which kind of sounds like Druid to me. Is that viable? Is that good? I think it could be, but I think it's more viable if you have already turned yourself into Deathstalker and you have other control tools to kind of help you out with that. So I think this is one of those cards that could be really, really good in the right deck with the right build. That being said, it's still a 7 mana 6/7, which is slightly understated mana-wise, but it's still a nice big body and gets you another random beast. Now, obviously, a 6/7 dying and bringing back an alley cat would kind of suck. So one of the things I think you want to do with this particular card is maybe chill on the early game beasts and try to start working your beast synergies in on turn 3, 4, 5, etc. Now the question is, does Hunter have enough 1 and 2 drop that aren't beasts that are actually viable to make this card a little bit stronger? I don't know. I don't even know if you want to warp your deck enough to do that. Maybe a 6/7 that brings back a 1/1 is good enough. I don't know. It's possible. It's a Death Rattle. Comes back when it's off. And since it summons a random friendly beast, you don't need to, like, it's not like Moat Lurker or something where you need to, like, have a target, and then when it comes back, it just doesn't have that target anymore. Like, it's just gonna summon something no matter what. You are a hunter. You're gonna play beasts. So like I said, I think it's a very good card. I think it's a very good value card. I just question whether a value hunter is going to be viable. So it's not the card itself that I think gives it a somewhat lower rating. I think it's just the viability of the deck that it's going to be put in. But in a vacuum, I like this card. Gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I definitely think it will see play, and I do think it's pretty versatile in that sense. So, Fate Spinner, 5 mana, 5/3. Choose a Death Rattle. This is a choose effect, which we haven't had before on, or at least on a Death Rattle minion. So, Fandral Synergy. Secretly deal 3 damage to all minions or give them +2/+2. Now, I hope that give them +2/+2 is on your minions only, even though the deal 3 damage to all minions is to all minions. That'd be kind of crazy if it gave your opponent's minions +2/+2 as well, which I think would make this card significantly worse. I think this card would be surprisingly weird with Fandral, right? Hey, I just gave all my guys +2/+2, and I dealt 3 damage to them. Bonus? Winning? I don't know. It's like basically they all took 1 damage to get to attack. But I mean, it's essentially a Savage Roar. But it's a Death Rattle. So you're kind of hoping, you're like, is this a massive board clear? Or is this a massive buff to my minions? Or to all minions? Who knows? Both effects are pretty powerful, actually. You know, dealing 3 damage to all minions could wipe your opponent's board or wipe your own board too, but you're a druid, you've got big stuff. Most of your shit will probably live. But also, druid has traditionally had a lot of problems with clearing massive boards. And a lot of times you just spread wide against a druid and he's screwed unless he plays Deathwing or has a couple of powered up swipes. And so this card is actually really strong in the sense that, hey, I finally got a delayed board clear in druid. So I think that alone will make this card see play. And then if you have a large board and you'd rather it not disappear, and you want to give +2/+2 to everything, then you can do that too. 5/3, it's actually pretty darn good stats. It's strong, it has high attack, it works with a Jungle Giant's quest. It only has 3 health, so it'll die easily enough to where you can actually get the Death Rattle off. And it's a secret. So your opponent doesn't know if it's going to get AoE'd when this thing dies, or if it's going to get a buff. I mean, that's so weird. It's like it's never happened. This is unprecedented. I'm not even sure how to rate this card, but I think it has total fucking mind game power to really mess with your opponent. And so I think just the sheer fact that it messes with your opponent, provides a board clear for druid, and potentially just gives a buff, that's a really good card. And I think it actually will see quite a bit of play. It's complicated, It's one of those cards that's really hard to rate. So I'm going to give this a 7.5. I think it will see significant play. Not necessarily deck defining, but good. Like you'll slot this in. Bone Mare, 7 mana, 5/5, Battle Cry. Give a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. Wow, that's a good effect, and that's a common card, and this is going to be an arena fucking legend. I can already hear the guys at the Lightforge freaking out over this card. Even if you put this on a 1/1, you get a 5/5 and then a 5/5 with taunt, which is a Jade Chieftain basically, which also costs 7 mana coincidentally. I mean, this card is good. This card is good. How can it be bad? It's only bad if you have no minions. And it says give a friendly minion, not another friendly minion. It makes me wonder if you can give itself taunt, which would make it a 7 mana 9/9 with taunt. I would assume it's another minion. It'd be really dumb if this could just throw it on itself. Well, 7 mana 9/9 with taunt. I mean, who wouldn't put that in their deck? No, really. I don't want a 9/9 with taunt for 7 mana in my deck. No, of course not. It's got to be on another minion. So, assuming that it has to be on another minion, this is still really good. It effectively gives that minion charge. It's a Blessing of Kings with another upside. So Blessing of Kings costs 4 mana. Then you're essentially getting a 3 mana 5/5. Now, again, because the cards are combined and because the mana costs are so high, it's not exactly like that, but it's not a bad way to sort of think about the card. I'll give it credit. This card seems really good, and I'm very surprised it is a neutral common card. This is going to be a really good staple in budget decks, definitely. If you are looking to just start trying to build a competitively viable deck, like this is a great card to just throw in and have in your deck, and it's cheap, and you'll probably get a bunch of them. Like, yeah. It's one of those things where, like, it's a good, strong card. It has a good, strong effect. It's obviously going to be very good in Arena. Most of the time, Arena cards aren't quite good enough to make constructed play. So I'm going to give this a 5.5. I think it's just a cross the edge of viable. I think it will see some play, small play in certain decks, and it's going to be strong in budget decks and strong in arena. I don't know if the effect is quite strong enough to make a constructed cut, especially at this mana cost. A 4-mana 3/3 Corpse Taker. Battle Cry. Gain Taunt if your deck has a Taunt minion. Repeat for Divine Shield, Lifesteal, and Wind Fury. So in theory, if you put a Taunt minion, Divine Shield minion, Lifesteal minion, and a Wind Fury minion in your deck, the Corpse Taker will become a 3/3 with Taunt, Divine Shield, Lifesteal, and Wind Fury. Wow, that is good for 4 mana. The Silver Moon Guardian is a 4-mana 3/3 with just Divine Shield. This would have Taunt, Lifesteal, and Wind Fury, so significantly better. Power creep is real, people. Great card. Another one of those cards where like, damn, this is so good. Am I going to find a spot for it? I don't know. Maybe in Paladin? But Paladin already has 4 mana, a lot of 4-mana cards. This would be really neat maybe in Rogue to give you that extra healing because it's got Lifesteal and Wind Fury. So in theory it could, and Taunt, right? And Divine Shield. So you're probably going to heal at least 6, I think. So maybe this is sort of mid to late game healing for Rogue or for Warlock. You know, it's nice that it gains Lifesteal, and all you got to do is have something else with Lifesteal in your deck. So, I mean, this is going to help those classes that have trouble with healing, right? The Warlocks, the Rogues, maybe even the Mages, to a lesser extent. Maybe not the Druids. The Druids have a lot of armor gain. Shaman doesn't really need it. Maybe Shaman. I don't know. Yeah, but definitely Rogue, Warlock. Rogue and Warlock for sure are going to love this card. This is it's just a great minion with all this bunch of big old pile of stats. I mean, Alec here, he's your heart out, you know. If this card had charge, it'd be Alec here, but it doesn't. And it just goes to show how powerful charge is. But really good card, and honestly, it's going to see play. You know, it's going to fit into some deck. Some deck is going to love this card. I'm going to give it a 7. You know, not going to be meta defining, but my God, it'll slot into a lot of different decks, and like I said, especially Rogue and Warlock decks. Coming up, we got Light's Sorrow. It's a Paladin card. 4 mana 1/4. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, gain +1 attack. Now, my initial thought is this is poop because a 1/4 is a Light's Justice, and this costs 3 mana more. However, it's after a friendly minion loses Divine Shield. My guess is that they're pushing a Divine Shield archetype for Paladin. And my guess is that their hero, their legendary hero, probably gives Divine Shield to all his minions, or at least one of them. Maybe that's his hero power. And so the ability to lose a lot of Divine Shields is probably going to be pretty viable. That being said, I still think this card is a pile of poop. It's a weapon. And I'll be honest, there's so much weapon removal now. A card like this, investing 4 mana into it, like, who knows how strong it's going to be. I mean, hopefully you have it already set up to where you have like 2 or 3 Divine Shield minions, and then they trade in and lose their Divine Shield, and this thing becomes a 4/4, and then you start whacking away at people with this. I guess that's the dream. But, you know, like I said, with the current state and the amount of weapon removal that's in play, maybe you're getting 1 swing, maybe 2, and so I feel like this card just requires way too much setup to be viable. Bolvar Fireblood, 5 mana, 1/7, Paladin Legendary, Divine Shield. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, gain +2 attack. Again, all this setup to have other creatures become slightly less powerful and you become more powerful? Blood Knight synergy? Maybe. I mean, that's actually pretty good. You know, if you so I guess ideal scenario, right? Steward of Darkshire, stand against darkness, give 5/1/1's Divine Shield, and then on the next turn you play Bolvar and you trade in all your little 1/1 dudes, and then you make this a 11/7 with Divine Shield. Why are the stats so weak? Why do they always do this? They're like making one attack dudes. Oh, it gets buffer. Oh, it gets buffer. It could live for a while. But it's like, this isn't the Darkshire Councilman, where it's actually pretty easy to keep dumping dudes on. Like, you want to dump dudes on the board and grow him. Like with this, it's like, it's hard to get Divine Shields. Unless it's way easier to get Divine Shields in the future. This card is going to be a pile of garbage. So, with the caveat that Divine Shields might be way easier to get in the future, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Every card in this set, interesting. Interesting. Is it viable? Hard to say. I gotta admit, like I said this before, I think all the cards are kind of techy. And I think that's really good for a second expansion in a set, right? Your first expansion in a set is going to be sort of the core, and you know that's sticking around for at least 2 years. Whereas with this set, you really want to make sure that you're giving your players as many neat slot-in tools as you possibly can. You know, they realize that this expansion is not just on its own. Its expansion is being based off of few past cards. Eventually, it's going to be Journey to Ungoro, and then this set, and then whatever the third set is when we introduce the fourth set on top of that. So this is going to be, you know, one of the foundational building blocks of Standard in the future, and they know that. And so that's why they're giving you a lot of these cards. Is they're giving you Journey to Ungoro as kind of the base, and then this is sort of the addition to the house. And so that's why a lot of these cards have a somewhat more niche application. It makes Standard more different, more viable. And so I gotta admit, these cards are very different, and they are challenging, and fitting them into a deck and making them work is going to take a lot of effort, and that's good because there'll be a lot of card creation on top of that. So very nice, very excited. These cards are current as of 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7/27/2017. So keep learning, keep rocking. Rockstar will see you later, and get ready for the huge video after the reveal stream. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more videos, you can see the most recent videos here. You can see a recommended playlist here. And if you want to subscribe, you go right here. Thank you so much. Keep learning, keep rocking, and the Rockstar will see you later.